Welcome in another episode of the Inside of Things show. Today we have a special guest, Konrad. You already know him from the previous episodes. So without further introduces, let's get to the point. Welcome, Konrad. Nice to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Everyone says so. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about proof of concept. Yes, so starting from the definitions, for you, what the proof of concept is?
I think we should define proof of concept in a broader range because companies, both customers and vendors, services providers use different definitions, different naming. One is proof of concept, one is proof of value, one is minimum viable product MVP, one is pilot, and we should, I think, define what's the difference between them and what is the reason for them. So what in your opinion POC means?
In my opinion, POC is a startup project that should show something. And depending on the real use case, on the client, on the customer, and on the team that is supposed to drive it and actually prepare this proof of concept, we should prove if something is, in example, possible to achieve using some predefined technology stack. For me, this is like proof of concept. Yeah, but this is my definition. But I know that you have strong technical background because you were not born as a manager, or maybe you were, but you also have this technical journey in your career, let's say. So I'm asking about your definition from your experience, because you work with the clients. Yeah?
Proof of concept, as you mentioned, and it was in the past one of the first definitions, proof of concept, and very often it has been about technology, product, because with the IoT, with the cloud, with new technologies, we try to test technology or product. In the past, we had more standard let's say, approach to build the solutions on top of existing products. Now we have broader possibilities to use technology. So you are right, with the first, let's say, first definition of POC, it was more focused on the technology or product. Later, there was a proof of value. Basically, it's almost the same. The only difference was that some people started to add some business value, that we test something against a business value, where a business use case has been selected. We have two other definitions, which is minimum viable product. In my opinion, it is when the POVs has been accomplished and something has been proved, then we step into building something which is more than a proof. A kind of product which has an end-to-end use case, which can be used, tested further. POC has to be tested with some end users, but then minimum viable product brings you an opportunity to go further. And then we have a pilot. Pilot needs to have something in the organization, like a production line or a team of people on different roles, which are using that on a daily basis. Let's define as a subset of people with the defined roles. And with the technology we have at the moment, those people have to be open. So you have to select some people which become champions for the change, to show other people that something is working.
Yeah, I totally agree. One thing I can add is also the quality, or the level of the quality you put into the specific, let's say, stage. Because at the very beginning, when we are talking about the proof of concept or POVs, this level of the quality is not so high, because we just want to prove something or address some very specific, very small use case. Yeah. But then for the MVP, this quality needs to be on the table already. And when we talk about the pilot, for me, the pilot is a small production even. Because normally it stays. Yeah, but okay, this is the definitions. But how about the reality, and how about the clients? You are running the teams. You know how the teams works with the clients, with the external clients, direct clients, and you know how does it looks for them. Do they share the same definitions?
I believe the definition, it might be the same, but the execution is different. It's very often that still those companies are focusing on the technology. So they are testing the technology, building something. When it's built, then it's not used because there was no clear definition of the purpose of the use case. So the definition it's similar. The problem is with the execution. Very often those POCs pilots are not connected to a use case and with some specific earning, some money behind. And if something different happens during the POC, the project, something more important, it's very often just left. So if I see some customers which are typically even starting with a kind of benchmark of how to change a manual process into a very simple IT supported process. Even it can be even some, I don't know, Excel file when you just use for storing digital information and trying to check if there is an improvement between manual process and somehow partially automated. With the current technology, you can use some cloud services, already existing services, to again, maybe not Excel because it's not the best way, but with just those simple storage services to try to automate some little things. And those customers which are focusing on just testing or even then recording of the manual process versus semi-automated process, in my opinion, are the most matured customers. So the definition is the same, the execution is different.
Okay.
That's why so many POVs are lost and not continued.
We go to that, for sure we go to that in any minute, but I wanted to ask about the IoT specific right now, because I know it depends on the domain or the business, let's say, if we are trying to deliver POC for the agriculture or for the heavy industry or for the home automation, it will depend for sure. But I wonder, how does it look from the team perspective? Because I saw the IoT project that was running by, 3 guys, but I also saw the projects which were running by 200 people. So if we are talking about the IoT, from your perspective, let's try to get this average, how the team can look like.
The team from the perspective of the doers or receivers?
Doers.
My perspective, those projects have to be quite fast, short. My opinion would be maximum like a 3 months of cooperation of development. And those teams cannot be, in my opinion, too big. Most important is to engage in the team, people from the business at the customer, at the receiver side. Yeah. So if you want to have a quick cooperation, very agile, it should be 200 is really too much. It should be, I think, in my opinion, less than 10. Of course, depending on the receiver's setup, if they have 2 business roles, there is a product owner, somebody who is on the customer side responsible for that. It all depends, but let's say few persons from the customer, because I strongly believe there has to be business involved to see the results, not only the IT or the development team on the customer side, and again, few people on our side. This has to be very atomic to prove something.
Okay, I think this is very significant what you said, that the proof of concept projects, let's say, cannot be just done for fun to check. Okay, they should be run as any other project. Maybe the result of such project is expected to be lower quality than the real one, the production one, but still it should be run as a real project. With the management, let's say, with the sponsors and so on.
Yeah, and I would add to that, as you mentioned, some POCs are just to check something, and you get some technology for free, and you try to build something on top of that. You try to learn the technology, how to use it, how to code in it, and you spend too much time on just discovering the technology and learning. And after 3 months, you get new releases of services or APIs, and your know-how is lost. So again, just testing for testing purpose, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, 100% agree. Okay, so let's back to this lost stuff, let's say, because I really wanted to talk about it. There is something like PoC purgatory or PoC limbo. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, and there are even some nice articles from McKinsey or different other sites about that. This is a problem, and it's even up to, it is said that it's up to 70% of these projects, PoCs, are not continued. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the real problem.
Yeah. So what are the main reasons for that?
From these analysis, there are like 5 up to 7 factors. If I remember correctly, I will focus on these, which in my opinion, are most important. Mm-hmm. One of the things is that those POCs are done by internal teams. When you do that internally, it's just as like in your free time, like you mentioned, testing the technology, educating. It has always low priority. If something different happens, your colleagues will be moved to something more important. So doing stuff with internal capacity, it's very risky, and your projects will last months. Mm-hmm. So you will not finish that. If you do that with external companies, there are money behind which you need to pay. And this is the second, let's say, point or factor of this pilot limbo. If you pay something and you have this visibility within your organization to the right level, that you spend money, and someone will check if those money were spent properly and you have a result, then you have a right visibility. Yeah. This is the second factor, right visibility in the organization. If you do a project just for fun and nobody sees that, you get into limbo. If you have the right visibility, and especially business visibility. Mm-hmm. And the third one, which I remember, is about the right use case. The selection of use case is very important because you need to take into consideration your company's challenges, business problems, and right selection of the business case again makes other people being interested in. Mm-hmm. Making your project visible at the right level, and this makes the pilot, the POC, with the, let's say, strong background. So shortly, external, which makes some money behind, which are being observed. So we have the visibility on the right level, and the right use case, which brings something. That's because of that, some very initial naming. The definition, the POC, in my opinion, changed into POV because POC were testing the technology, and POV is pushing to select something which brings value. Of course, it's a robust wording, value, and so on, but something which is important to your company. A use case which is causing some delays, cash loss, or something like that. So that's very. In my opinion, that's change in the naming or the definition was really influenced by some lessons learned from doing POCs just for fun.
This is very interesting, and I still wonder that this is discovered already. Okay, you have, as you said, you have some analysis already done, but still this 70% going, into the limbo, and it's fascinating. But are there any other ways? Because do you have some experience from running the company, running the team's perspective that people totally skip this part? They are not doing the proof of concepts?
Yeah, I think let's say the standard approach is when you have a business problem which has already something which is addressing this business problem. Let's say a standard approach of selecting a kind of standard software solution which is already on the market, And that's the totally different approach. So you try to select or invite few vendors of the standard software, which is probably, it's a kind of ERP selection or MES selection. It's a standard one. So you do not really do POCs. You just select a standard approach. You select enterprise software, enterprise solution, which is offered by many vendors. You invite them, and this is how you proceed. This is something which is, let's say, we might say old-fashioned, but it's when comparing to these POCs and so on, but it's still something which is working. The question is when to use what. Those solutions like ERP, the decision takes years sometimes, and the implementation also takes years. You could address with the different software like ERP different business cases, and then work on this software during the long-term project to address those business cases. It's your decision, it's the customer decision if to follow this first standard approach or to go into the POC approach. Mm-hmm. I know companies which are selecting the POC approach, doing 20, 30, 40 POCs, and then building a kind of roadmap from the selected products, use cases, technology, and then try to build a roadmap how to implement further. Again, it's not an easy answer. It depends on your market. If the market is changing very rapidly, then you should most likely proceed and invest in these POCs. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, some of them will be not used, and maybe the percentage of these POCs in the limbo have to be high. Maybe not 70, but 40, something like that. But some of them will have to be just lost or abandoned.
Yeah, but I still believe this is the risk or maybe the cost of trying to be the best, trying to have the advantage. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Konrad, it was really good. Thank you. It was really interesting. It is a great honor to have you here again, and I hope this is not our last time.
It's not going to be last time.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.